The silent killer of dreams isn't laziness or lack of talent, it's your own pride. Discover how ego destroys success and how humility can unlock your true power. Ego is the invisible force that often stands between us and true success. It blinds us to our flaws, inflates our self-importance, and prevents growth by making us believe we already know everything. In Ryan Holiday's powerful book, Ego is the Enemy, he reveals how ego destroys ambition, poisons relationships, and leads to failure if left unchecked. This guide teaches that the path to mastery, peace, and greatness comes through humility, discipline, and constant learning. By overcoming ego, we gain clarity, resilience, and the ability to pursue goals with purpose rather than pride. Letting go of ego isn't weakness, it's the beginning of real strength. Ego is not confidence, ambition, or self-belief. It is the toxic voice inside that tells us we are better than we really are, that we've already arrived, that we are owed something, or that others are beneath us. In Ego is the Enemy, Ryan Holiday presents a timeless and deeply practical philosophy rooted in stoicism, history, and real life examples of those who succeeded because they mastered their ego and those who failed because they didn't. Ego thrives in three critical phases of life: when we aspire, when we succeed, and when we fail. During aspiration, ego convinces us to chase status over substance, making us talk more than we act. When we find success, ego tricks us into believing we're invincible and entitled, causing us to stop learning and growing. In failure, ego shields us from accountability, blaming others or the system instead of facing our own shortcomings. This guide shows that ego is the enemy of long-term progress, mastery, and meaningful connection. True greatness comes from humility, from showing up to do the work without needing applause, from listening more than speaking, and from being a student always. Holiday draws from the lives of figures like George Marshall, who led with quiet strength, and contrasts them with cautionary tales of people whose egos led to downfall. Whether you are starting a new dream, navigating a breakthrough, or recovering from a loss, the war against ego is constant and necessary. This isn't about diminishing yourself, but about detaching from pride and delusion, choosing discipline over desire, purpose over popularity, and truth over image. Ego may offer temporary highs, but humility builds lasting legacy. Conquering ego is not a one-time victory. It is a lifelong practice of self-awareness, restraint, and grounded confidence. In a noisy world full of self-promotion and inflated personas, the ability to silence the ego and act with intention becomes a superpower. Ego is the Enemy is more than a book. It is a manual for anyone who wants to rise with honor, fall with grace, and stay true to the deeper path of growth and service. Ego is one of the most subtle yet destructive forces within us, an invisible enemy that distorts our view of reality, clouds our judgment, and sabotages our potential. In his groundbreaking book, Ego is the Enemy, Ryan Holiday delivers a powerful warning that ego is not a companion on the journey to success. It is the roadblock. Ego appears in three stages of life: when we aspire, when we achieve, and when we fail. In the aspiration stage, ego whispers lies of entitlement and instant greatness. It tells us that dreaming alone is enough, that talking about the goal is the same as working for it, and that we are somehow different from the rest. It blinds us from the grind, the humility to learn, and the courage to start small. In the success stage, ego grows louder, telling us we are special, superior, and invincible. It feeds off praise, craves attention, and fears anything that threatens the identity we've built. It convinces us to stop learning, to reject feedback, and to protect our image rather than evolve. Then comes the failure stage, where ego becomes a bitter enemy. It refuses to accept responsibility, blames others, and prevents us from seeing lessons in defeat. Instead of rebuilding with wisdom, ego urges us to defend our pride and avoid discomfort. Holiday draws lessons from history, military generals, entrepreneurs, artists, and thinkers. to show how ego has destroyed empires and careers. He contrasts this with stories of humility like George Washington's restraint, Eleanor Roosevelt's service, or Angela Merkel's silent strength. These figures succeeded not through arrogance, but through discipline, patience, and a relentless focus on purpose over pride. The message is clear: ego is seductive but hollow. It makes you believe you're moving forward when in reality you're running in circles of validation. To fight ego, one must cultivate humility, pursue excellence without needing praise, and build an identity based on character rather than image. This requires being a lifelong student, always learning, always growing, never assuming you've made it. It means replacing pride with purpose, insecurity with preparation, and comparison with inner clarity. Ego is the enemy teaches that greatness doesn't shout. It whispers through consistency, resilience, and self-mastery. It's not about thinking less of yourself, but thinking about yourself less. It's about showing up to do the hard, thankless work with no promise of applause, and finding peace in progress rather than recognition. In a world dominated by ego-driven noise, the quiet confidence of humility becomes a rare and powerful edge. Letting go of ego doesn't weaken you, it liberates you. It frees you to listen, to grow, to lead with wisdom, and to build something that outlasts you. Ego may offer short-term applause, but only humility leads to long-term respect, impact, and inner peace. This guide is not a motivational cliché. It is a manual for transforming your relationship with yourself, with success, and with the world. Ego, in its most dangerous form, is not simply arrogance or vanity. It is the silent, corrosive force that separates who we are from who we could become. It is the voice in our head that demands recognition before mastery, comfort before sacrifice, and applause before discipline. In Ego is the Enemy, Ryan Holiday dissects this internal enemy with surgical precision, revealing how ego lurks in moments of ambition, success, and even defeat. When we are just beginning our journey, when we're hungry and striving, ego can tempt us to obsess over image instead of substance. It tells us we're destined for greatness, so we stop preparing. It encourages us to post, perform, and pretend rather than learn, listen, and practice. When we reach a degree of success, ego becomes even more deceptive. It inflates our sense of self-worth, whispering that we've arrived, that rules no longer apply, that criticism is an insult rather than a gift. It causes people to coast on reputation, stop evolving, or self-destruct under the weight of their own illusions. Then, in times of failure, ego refuses to take accountability. It shields us from truth, sabotages reflection, and fuels denial and blame. Instead of transforming pain into wisdom, ego deepens our wounds with pride. Holiday uses real stories, from the downfall of Julius Caesar to the quiet power of Bill Belichick, to illustrate that the most successful people often fight ego with humility, self-awareness, and the courage to remain students forever. True leaders resist ego not by pretending to be small, but by staying grounded in reality, purpose, and service. They don't chase the spotlight. They let the work speak for itself. They don't attach their identity to praise or power. They find fulfillment in growth, contribution, and discipline. The book teaches that ego is not a one-time obstacle, but a lifetime opponent. Every new opportunity, win, or hardship is another battle in the war against self-delusion. The antidote to ego isn't false modesty, it's radical clarity. It's the decision to build silently, to persist without permission, to seek truth over validation. Ego thrives on comparison, distraction, and entitlement, while humility thrives on action, resilience, and vision. If you want to create something lasting, to live a life of depth and impact, then ego must be faced, challenged, and tamed over and over again. This guide is a reminder that ego is not strength. It is weakness disguised. It demands attention while robbing you of intention. It may bring applause but never mastery. In a world obsessed with showing off, choosing to step back, to serve, and to listen becomes a revolutionary act. Ego is the Enemy is not just a book. It is a philosophy for warriors, creators, thinkers, and leaders who are ready to go beyond performance and ego-driven ambition to live with meaning, mastery, and peace. To overcome ego is to reclaim your power, not over others, but over yourself, and that, in the end, is the highest victory a person can achieve.